couple of weeks back when we did the anti-fouling, we dropped this wing by accident, and what it's done is bent these pins. So if you can see, that pin has got a bend going on. That one over there, slightly better. If you look down here, you see this is sort of curved off like that. That one's relatively straight, but the top of it has a twist going on. And then down here, we've got quite a kink in the mild steel sliders. So there's another one there. So that there needs to be sledgehammered back in basically. And these here have to be fixed. And thought about a few options. This is 20mm mild steel. This is 32mm stainless. It's pretty bloody strong. And getting the arm off while the wing and everything is still bolted to, while it's in the water, doable, but it's quite a challenge. So what I'm actually thinking, just slicing these off completely and making some new ones.
Brupeg was a sunken fishing trawler that was stripped out and ready for the scrapyard. She's just completed a 10-year rebuild that's brought her back to life. With the help of volunteers and funded by our Patreons, community and subscribers, she'll be crewed by passionate people from around the world. If you'd like to be involved and support the project, please consider joining us on Patreon or subscribe to the channel. There's a link in the description below.
We found some 16mm plate that we're going to use. Jess and I have built a grinding cocoon, so welding blanket out. We're going to start grinding this up. So it's a tight squeeze, and I need the depth of the 9-inch grinder, so we're cutting off the side pins, and the 5-inch grinder just doesn't have enough physical depth to get all the way through. I haven't quite cut through there because I don't have the plunge depth on the 9-inch. I've got to about there, so I've got about 10mm, maybe half an inch to go. What I'm thinking is see if I can break that off just with a bit of brute force. I've bashed it back and forth a few times and it's proving to be pretty tough. I'm not brave enough to hang over this side with the 9-inch and grind back in towards me, but I am brave enough to do that with a 5-inch. The side cheeks and pins that I'm cutting off do all of the location for the top end of this arm. So by cutting them off, I need to do some other bodged up way of holding it. And that's what this plank of wood is. It stops the arm from just flying in and smacking into the cabin. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, you know those nuts that you sometimes have to undo with a spanner and you can only turn it about a quarter of a turn and you have to keep flipping the spanner over? Well, this is the grinding equivalent. So basically I was able to cut through the arm, and to break it off I have to bend it out and then smack it back in with a hammer, and then bend it back out and then smack it back in with a hammer, but I can only do that about 1/8 of an inch at a time. I'm a bit hamstrung by room, so what I'm trying to do is break this off by bending it. I've cut all the way through the weld here. I've plunge cut in, cut the weld there. The weld on this side has been plunge cut in with the 5-inch, so I've cut that weld. I've sort of sliced the weld here. I haven't quite got the weld here, which is part of the problem, I think. And it's cracked. You probably can't see it on the camera, but it's cracked through the metal there, so this has no longer got any strength. So by bending it back and forth, I'm hoping I can just break whatever last remaining strength we have in that edge, grind it up, and then we're ready to weld the new one on. Oh?
Big hammer.
Yeah.
It looks like it needs to go that way slightly on this one here, doesn't it?
It does. Can I have that red lever behind you?
These arms were designed to be held down with bolts. Now that we're retrofitting pins, the alignment is a bit tricky, and that's why we're bashing it around with a hammer to get them to fit. Whoa! This is Dennis. Dennis has a boat here and just happened to see Damien working on the stabiliser and noticed it was a little bit of a job and came over and offered to help and was instrumental in doing that knot over there and making sure that this happened.
We winched ourselves into a corner. I might just give those a whack and see how solid they are.
Oh, noise?
Yeah,
Yep.
noise, good. So the bit that we're panel beating now is the part of the slider that got bent when the wing dropped and free fell with gravity. We need to bend this back in straight so that when we put the new pins on, they'll make the top of the arm align correctly with the new pins. I might get the big sledgehammer.
Yeah, okay. I think that'll work. That's
It's working
really
there.
good. Yeah, great.
Template has been created, marked it out on this piece of plate that we found yesterday with Wayne. But before I cut these out, I'm going to mag drill them because I've got a big solid piece of steel over here that we can hook the mag drill on and then drill down into, rather than trying to mag drill these small bits after the fact. So I've stuck a 5mm pilot hole down there because this centering piece for our cutter is a 5mm tip on it. You can see it steps down to 5mm, and that means that we can get a nice centered up hole based on that. In Australia, you're normally not allowed to put anything over the side of the boat when you're doing work on your boat. Mariners are very particular about this. However, this wharf is specifically run as a maintenance and repair facility by TMR, or Transport and Main Roads, and we asked a number of times to make sure that we're okay to do grinding and welding, and it was okay to put metal over the side of the boat like this because when it goes back to iron oxide, it doesn't cause any harm to the environment. And this is what a spark against the camera looks like. There we go, 2 side plates cut out. Now I've got some 32mm pin, I've cut a 34mm hole because reasons, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I killed our 32mm cutter. That's not the reason, it's a different reason. I don't know what the other reason is yet, but that's definitely not the reason. Right, the 2 plates, you need to get this pin measured up to figure out how long we need to make it, because it's possibly going to be a different length for each plate. So let's go and get that bit done. This aft plate, I've measured it up to be 65mm long on the pin. We have a 65mm long pin to cut, so it drops all out. Time to chop that off square. There we go, cheek, pin, let's get this thing welded together. To say I have plenty of working space here would be a lie. Yep, stuck. Okay. Now we're going to do this. She'll adjust. Pretty good. Right, let's get a few more tacks going on. What I'm hoping is that is enough to be able to lift the wing, and then we can weld everything around the bottom and all that sort of stuff, but it's pretty awkward where it is to weld everything, so see if we can get a bit on the pin and then we'll give it a shot at lifting. Probably enough on the pin, half an inch weld or so. So you can see I got the weld in there, about maybe 3/4 inch. Got half an inch, 3/4 inch weld there. Overall it's relatively straight, vertical, and it's quite good that way, so I think I can probably leave that now, and then we'll lift the wing up and we can weld it fully once the wing's up a bit higher. Do the same on this one. We'll give this one a quick tack. 75mm. I think we have 2 pins. I've got a couple of smaller tacks on this plate, so let's throw a few more on there. I think that's enough. Right, so another weld, 3/4 inch, maybe a touch over that. Got a tack in either corner, front and back. And we've got 2 tacks on that, one slightly bigger than the other. I think that's enough to hold it. It's all looking relatively straight from what I can see visually, which is pretty much all we need to go off on this, because none of this is straight. So let's start lifting this up and we'll weld around the bottom of it. Have a look at this. The issue I have is, you can see here, these pins don't line up at all, they're miles off. So I'm going to take those out, I'm going to go back to bolts, and what I do need to do essentially is make a new top to allow for these to be in the right location. They're just not in the right location, it's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to make them work, so we'll just get rid of the pins on this side and we'll put bolts in for now. You can see with the pins taken right out, they line up way better. Not perfect, but miles better than what it was before.
I'll get you flowers waiting around the bend. Baby, let's just pretend. I wanna stay like this forever. I wanna stay right here with you. I wanna stay right here with you. As the rest we fall until it all breaks down. But I need it so I will stay around when you're all messed up. It's a great relief to be understood. It's a shame.
These welding rods are about 1 metre long, and the area that I'm working in is about 1/2 metre wide, and the math just doesn't work.
So let us walk right into the forest, to the trees and the rising sun. It is something we can't outrun.
just finished welding this guy and that one there just a little bit earlier. That gives you an idea. Big hoot nanny weave on that, so that should be plenty strong. I'm going to try and lift it up now and then do the welds underneath. Weld 1, weld 2. Bit awkward, but they will definitely be strong. There we have it, wing tucked away and the arm nicely up the top there. Everything's working lovely, so safety pins in. So I can leave that for now. I do need to put some paint on, but I can leave that for now and start focusing on the electrics.
We've been here tied up at the public maintenance wharf at Roslyn Bay. Thanks, Sean, and had some lovely sunsets. We were scheduled to work with the Brockhampton cadet group here. Staffing issues came up and we couldn't do it at this time, but they're going to be coming up to the Wet Sundays to do some training with us, so they're not going to miss out. Thanks, Lisa, for helping us provision, and it was great to spend some time with you.
And thanks for your help, Wayne, getting the steel we needed to fix the wings. It was great to catch up.
This is the wharf at low tide. We were surprised at how many people come and fish off the pier. And the surroundings are just beautiful. We did get in a couple of walks and some exploring. At this time of the year, we found out from locals, it's either all the wind or none of the wind. We got some great days. We had to do some shopping, get some food in the boat, and we also went and did some exploring. It's a lovely little town, Yapun. We explored the marina, had a bit of a feed, and checked out the local cannery. We just needed a couple of little things to be ready to head north. We really enjoyed our time here and we needed a little bit of a break before we headed north. Thanks everyone, and thanks Yapun. It's been lovely. Tomorrow we start our 5-day steam to Early Beach.
We got a bit of a weird course this morning. We have to do a big sort of leg out to sea and then a leg right back into the beach. But, might be able to see. But we're sort of going with the waves. They're not big, they're only, I don't know, 3/4 metre or something like that. But they're on the quarter, so the boat's quite rolly. We do have the wings out, so it has sort of dampened it enormously. This is an incredibly uncomfortable point of steaming normally, but it's quite comfy right now. Engine-wise, got a wee bit of tide with us, so pushing just over 8 knots. Engine's backed off a wee bit, 6 metres of water. We're doing all that 23 litres an hour. So for our American friends, that's 8 McGonagalls per parsec. We got a bit of swell going on. Sometimes the camera flattens it out, it doesn't look like much. It's not huge, we've probably got 12, maybe 15 knot gusts. We've got probably a metre seas, but every now and again you'll get a couple that'll lump up together, so we'll get a big lurch going on. You can sort of see we've copping a wee bit of water over the back. Oh, got a bit of a roll going on. And we're steaming into pretty ominous looking weather up front. So time to do a bit of an engine room check.
With the waves stirring up the fuel tanks and therefore any gunk that might be in them, it's a good time to do a fuel pressure check on our filters. So the left gauge is before the filters and the right gauge is after, and that 1.65 to 1.53 difference tells us if we've got blocked filters. Most of the morning was just a slow progressive rolling sea like this, the boat just gently lulling about. But it started to get progressively worse as we got towards Port Clinton. You can see the boat starting to lay over. The wind and the waves were heading in one direction and the tide was heading in the opposite direction. The tide coming out of Port Clinton was quite a big one, about 6 meters, so it really started to stack the waves up and the boat got more and more uncomfortable. Seemed to flatten off and we lulled ourselves into a false sense of security that, oh, it's fine, we probably passed the worst bit. And then it went really kind of crap and we were starting to get like 16, 17 degrees of roll on the boat. That's when it got a bit uncomfortable. And that's when we realised there was a couple of parts on the boat we'd forgotten to bolt down.
Finally the seas calmed down as we started to enter Pearl Bay, which for us was about 60 nautical miles north of Roslyn Bay, Yapun. So what about just over here? As long as we give ourselves a circle. Yeah, thank you. Yep. Yeah, it's 1.8. Got it. Dame's on the bow organising the anchor and I'm controlling the boat's position, letting him know the depth as well as when our boat's speed is dropped to 0, so we can dump the anchor onto the ground and start reversing to dig the anchor in to the substrate.
I love you, I give you everything you want me to. Think about it, if I could, I'd burn down the moon and give that to.
Thanks for watching, see you next week.